Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Democracy 3 with the Electioneering expansion. Also Clones and Drones, since this is the first time you've seen that on this channel. Pretty exciting first 2 years. We've managed to get our credit rating all the way up to a AAA now, which is amazing. GDP, unfortunately, is still pretty low because we had a big global market meltdown, but still, it seems like we are managing to pick up some steam. The unemployment is a little bit of a concern, and I think we do need to double down on improving the GDP, so let's move on. We did reshuffle the cabinet, so in theory we can generate 29 political capital per turn. Let's see how much we actually get. Freedom of information. There have been calls for a law to increase the availability of information held on databases about citizens without their knowledge. Why do I feel like we've already seen this? I play so many Democracy 3 campaigns that it's all just kind of blending together at this point, but okay. Rejecting the proposal is all about conservatives. Proposing it is all about making liberals happy, because this is about being a free society and so on. And you can see here, let's see, passing this law will make it harder for the intelligence services to keep a watch on criminals and terrorists. Yeah, you see language like that, you know it's conservative. In this case, though, the average law-abiding citizen should not be spied on, due process, blah 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 blah. Very liberal, let's go with it. Surplus is ticking up slightly, actually. We're up to 46 billion euros now. 80% of the vote is not, well, it's not amazing. I'm hoping for getting at least 90 summit before the next election, but it's making some progress. Why is education going down, though? That is concerning. Fortunately, health and GDP are on the rise. So we have 29 political power left. What should we do? I think a fantastic policy that I probably should have done sooner is the rural development grants. Amazing, amazing, amazing policy. A little expensive, but not too bad. 1.36 billion, I mean, heck, in France it actually seems cheaper than it does in many of my other campaigns, so not too bad. Mostly it just costs a ton of political capital. But basically the concept is, hey, we are going to spend money and not put it in cities, but instead go and develop the rural towns so that our civilians kind of spread out a bit more. Businesses move out away from the city, they're not quite as centralized and so on, just sort of develops better places, and it also gets more money toward the farmers and other rural areas through property value increases and so on. And yeah, across the board, this is going to be a good thing for our GDP. So we're going to spend 1.36 billion in order to gain 5.62% increase in the GDP. That's some pretty good value right there. Equality does go up, which I always thought was a little unusual, because if we're putting more money in the rural areas, I mean, when you think of poor, right, in, let's say, the United States, a lot of that ends up getting concentrated in very urban areas. Well, we're now spending government tax dollars in the rural areas, which you'd think are already a teeny bit better off. I guess they're really thinking of the far-out country people in, like, West Virginia and stuff. Sorry, not to rag on West Virginia too much, but I am from the state of Virginia, and we kind of do that all the time. We love ragging on West Virginia. But anyway, yeah, you'd think this wouldn't increase equality as much as it does. I'm sure there is a rationale behind it. I can't think of it at the moment, so I'm going to move on and mock it. Unemployment does, however, go way, way, way down, and that is huge for us. So unemployment being reduced by almost 14% and an increase of 5.6% in the GDP is a very, very good use of our money. Unfortunately, it takes up pretty much all of our political capital right off the get-go. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait. How are we looking as far as, we can't do manifesto and speeches yet, but as far as fundraising, we are still lagging behind our opponent rather significantly. And I think a big part of that is because Sophie Masson is not very happy with us right now. 71%, you think, hey, that's pretty good. Odds are pretty good. She's got like 90% with my opponent. So I don't think these two guys are contributing to me, but I think that Stephanie and Delphine are. Unfortunately, they're also some of the stingiest of the bunch. Well, no, Cyril, there you go. Cyril is the stingiest of the bunch, but whatever. Perceptions, not much has changed. We are looking perceived as a bit more compassionate than we were before. I don't think this is going to do a lot for us as far as boosting our voter turnout, but it is something. We probably will want to get rid of organized crime before the next election, though. We got plenty of time, not too worried. I want to instead lay a good foundation, get my economy nice and strong. Oh, media backlash, hooray! One of our country's most popular newspapers has launched a major campaign criticizing your policies so far. This typically happens when you upset the capitalists a ton, which we definitely have done. So we lose some favorability with everyone, and yet, despite that, it says that our polls are sitting at 91% right now. So we're still looking pretty good, and I think a big part of that is because farmers are happier, and there's a pretty good population in France that are farmers. And also, unemployment's going down, which just makes everyone happier. So, okay. Budget report. Still looking pretty good. Let's see. Global economy. Yeah, look at that crash right there. But the global economy is recovering relatively quickly, and we are matching... We're pretty much keeping pace. We're not doing amazingly, but we are keeping pace. That's kind of to be expected in a socialist country that's not taking advantage of all of the capitalist policies available in this game. So, oh well. I think we need to move towards some other useful things. How about we move toward technology grants? There we go. The government can provide state funding to encourage businesses to invest in new, exciting technologies. They call it a grant. It's basically a subsidy. Whoa. You can't tell this, but for some reason I feel like the air pressure in this room just changed a lot. Woo, my ears are... My voice sounds weird in my head, but okay. Anyway, yeah, it's basically just a subsidy for technology. Whatever, it's pretty expensive, unfortunately. But unemployment goes down, technology goes way up, which does increase our industrial automation, but increasing technology can result in the technological advantage, which will get rid of the, well, at least contribute to getting rid of the uncompetitive economy, which is just better overall. GDP does go up a tiny bit, productivity goes up, which again directly impacts the uncompetitive economy, and religious membership goes down, but it doesn't upset the religious people, so this is one of those insidious ways of getting rid of the religious in your country, while not, making them want to kill you. Yeah. Religious is only down to 12.2%. It's interesting because I'm pretty sure in the beginning of this campaign it said 85% of the country identified as Roman Catholic or something like that? And yet here we are at 12%, so apparently that's not true. Apparently that's not true at all. Creationism versus evolution. Is this not balanced? No! Interesting! This is one of the few countries that doesn't start on a perfectly balanced system of teaching creationism versus evolution. Fascinating. Huh. I thought that they all started in the middle just for balance reasons, because obviously if you go too high, that's really bad. It messes with your membership way too much. Cool. Okay. Okay, I can work with that. So yeah, we did our technology grants. What else should we do? You know, we should continue to try and boost our socialism membership, but also trade unionist. They're going to be kind of important for us. So why don't we look at government subsidies for unions? Trade unions provide a vital service to our nation. It is the collective interests of the people that they be encouraged and supported, blah, 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 blah. Yep, you all know what my opinion is on unions. They serve a purpose, but sometimes they can be abusive. That's at least how they are in the United States. Can't really say how they are in Europe. I have not experienced them in Europe because I've never been to Europe, although I'm hoping to change that in the next couple of months. Interestingly enough, to actually go to France. But I doubt that I'm going to explore the local politics in France very much while I'm there, although I would love to, but I seriously doubt it, so we'll see. Capitalists will be very unhappy. Okay, no big deal. I'm used to that. So, unionists will be very happy. Socialism and trade unionist membership goes way up, which across the board is a good thing for me, and even wages goes up because, especially in this game, although it is relatively generally true in real life, unions typically do result in higher wages. One could argue that they result in more stagnated economic growth as well, and less competition and more protectionist trade policies, but generally speaking, so long as they survive and don't rock the boat too much, unions can increase wages. So there you go. It's going to cost us 1.18 billion euros per quarter. Not too bad. Let's move on to the next turn. Climate Change Protocol. The United Nations Climate Change Conference signed a new protocol to limit the emissions of greenhouse gases in industrialized countries. Your country participated in the talks and drove a hard bargain in order not to put too much strain on the economy. Still, ratifying the protocol can be costly, limiting GDP growth and worker productivity. On the other hand, experts claim that this is the only way to save the environment. Do we ratify the protocol? Ratify it. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions is a necessary step to make sure our children will be born on a habitable planet. A small hit to the economy. Yeah, define small hit. Or do not ratify. With our economy at stake, we cannot ratify a proposal that prevents growth, productivity, and wealth. Oh boy, oh dear, I really would love to get more GDP growth. However, I know that the environment is a serious issue for us if we're not careful, so they're both good and bad for different reasons. Oh, climate change. You stupid thing, you... Nobody likes you. We're gonna ratify the protocol, I think. We are. Climate change has been something that people are talking about a lot in the US. Well, not as much as other things with the current election, but it is Okay, it is on my mind a bit lately because some people that I have personally talked to were citing some prominent political or scientific figures and agreeing that we should prosecute people who don't believe in climate change, or at least don't disagree with the conclusion that it makes, with criminal charges. Yep. Yep. I am completely serious about that. It's not actually a part of the Democratic Party's platform. Like, that's a myth. I know people have spread that around. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, some specific actual figures and just people I've talked to in my life who somehow think that this is an okay thing to do. Yeah. I'm serious. If I am a skeptic of climate change and I say, you know what, I don't believe that CO2 emissions are as bad as they say, or that it is contributing in the same way, or that even climate change is really a problem, or that it's happening very much at all, guess what? They think that the government should come along and prosecute you. And yeah. See, it's tricky for me to even address this subject because, you know, God forbid you say anything negative about climate change and all of a sudden you're labeled as a denier and nobody takes you seriously and block, deny. Ugh. It's a serious issue. I'm not saying that climate is not changing. I'm not saying that the trends don't generally show that it's been warming. There are reasons to be skeptical. I think every good scientist ought to be skeptical. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying it's not a problem to question the data. I don't think that that should be a problem. And yet, apparently, thanks to the scientific orthodoxy that I have talked about before, if you've watched any of my other Democracy 3 series, when I've talked about evolution and stuff, I've talked about this before. This weird thing where, hey, mainstream science says this, and therefore all we non-scientists will support this, and then we're going to go and do a witch hunt on anyone who says otherwise. Because that's basically the new scientific orthodoxy. It's becoming more of a religion, and when you call someone a denier, you're basically calling them a heretic. This is the Inquisition, guys. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything about climate change. I'm saying I think that this basically fascist approach to science is, first off, not good for science, and two, ridiculous on face value. It's an inquisition. It's basically just a religious inquisition, but in science. That's it. But seriously, if I say I'm a skeptic about climate change, you think you can put me in jail? No, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. So, you know, I can go on more on that. I really could go more on that, but I'm not gonna. Instead, we are going to do a few things to, let's say, improve our state health, try and get rid of the doctor strike, because we have not done enough to get rid of this darn thing. So this has kind of an exponential curve to it. If you kind of stick down on the bottom half, it makes no impact on the doctor strike at all, and then all of a sudden, woo, it shoots up. So you really want to have excellent healthcare if you're going to go for a socialist solution to the doctor strike. I'm honestly not convinced it's going to be enough to get rid of it, though. In the process, though, we will get rid of obesity, we'll spend some more money. Unemployment goes down, socialists are happy, health goes up. I mean, it's good. You know, it's a very expensive option, but it's good. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to get rid of the doctor's strike. I expect it to go down about here. Oh, that's not enough. Well, maybe. Hang on. Wait. Okay, hang on. That's about 28%. It actually may go down to about here, but I think it'll stop. I may end up having to change the labor laws again, make them pro-employer just to end the darn strike, and then shift them back to being slightly pro-union. Which is a flip-flopper thing, and hey, guess what? In the electioneering expansion, now there's a penalty to doing that, because if I do that, I will lose my points in perception of trustworthy. And that can hurt in the vote. So they penalize you for doing that now. Be aware that that's a problem. That's not what I meant to click on. Let's go to transport, and let's do, say, some clean fuel subsidies. I think that will be pretty good. It's relatively cheap. It should pretty much directly improve the environment. Yes, it does. Increases it by 5.83%. That's pretty good. Environmentalists will be happy. And motorists will have more money in their pocket because they're buying cheaper fuel because, you know, we're subsidizing it. And y'all know how good government subsidies are. Throw money at the problem. It'll go away on its own. Oh, crap. You know, damn it. I just spent so much time and money trying to improve the climate so that this exact situation wouldn't happen, but it happened anyway. Okay. First thing first, let's deal with fracking. Hydraulic fracturing, better known as fracking, is a new drilling technology that allows energy companies to exploit previously unreachable deposits of shale gas. It's relatively new. It could open up huge supplies of energy, but there are environmental concerns because, again, it's pretty new. Fracking, personally, I'm in huge favor of it. Huge. the United States right now is facing kind of an energy boom in our oil, in our gas production. Like, we're doing really well as far as energy production in the United States right now, in no small part because of fracking. A lot of people say, oh, it's President Obama because he increased our oil drilling rights and stuff. No, I mean, he did, but no, fracking is by a long shot the reason the United States has an energy boom right now. And pretty soon, there's actually a lot of hope that the United States is going to become an energy exporter, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, that said, there is a lot of concern, and I think it's fair to be concerned about it, certainly. It's new technology, and its entire premise is basically to put a ton of pressure in fluid in areas below the Earth's crust, and cracking the Earth, basically, parts of it, to release gas. That's the whole premise. That sounds kind of scary. Now, I've seen a lot of documentaries of people saying, oh, it released methane into my water supply. As far as I'm aware, most of those are just lies and have been debunked. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. I'm pretty sure I did some studying on it and found that it wasn't true, but this was many years ago. That there was actually other reasons that the water tap was on fire, and it was literally because your well was drilled through a methane pocket. Literally. But, again, don't crucify me, I could be wrong. I like it. We're gonna ban it. I know. The roleplay has to take priority over my own personal preferences. Poses a number of dangers, not least the possibility that is linked to earthquakes. No real proof of that as far as I'm aware, but it's a reasonable hypothesis and should be explored, I agree. The very real danger of contaminating the water supply, again, pretty sure that's been debunked, for the most part, and it involves pumping huge quantities of dangerous chemicals. Actually, not totally true. Again, maybe I'm just succumbing to a bunch of propaganda. It's totally possible that I am just an idiot, and I've been reading biased sources. However, as far as I'm aware, it's mostly water and salt and a few other little things, but not really dangerous chemicals that are being put in there, so not necessarily true. At least that's what the fracking companies say. Plus, this is just another way to perpetuate our reliance on dwindling supplies of climate-changing fossil fuels. Now, that, I think, is one of the main reasons people are actually opposed to fracking. Whether they'll say it or not, that's another question. In the meantime, though, guess what? We got a water shortage. This is one of those negative events that can happen in Clones and Drones. It is also one of the primary reasons I don't like playing with Clones and Drones, because, hey, guess what? Climate change is now so in your face in this game that you really have to adopt a ton of policies to improve the environment. It's kind of annoying, but oh well. The rise of the average temperature has led to severe droughts in several regions of the country. Farmers are the primary victims of this development, and food prices are on the rise. Yep, food prices going up. Farmers are very unhappy because of this. Ultimately, it's going to continue to go up the longer you play the game, no matter what you do. The only way to combat that is to improve the environment, and the better the environment is, the more the water shortage goes down. Also, the more farmers there are, the more water they are using, and therefore, the water shortage is exacerbated. So actually, one other way to deal with this is not only to bring down CO2 emissions and improve the environment, but also to reduce the number of farmers that are in your country. And that, I believe, is one of the reasons that in Clones and Drones you have the Farmland Acquisition Program, which basically says the government is going to come along. What is this? Liberals! Environmentalists and liberals! Liken it to new colonialism. Huh. No. Anyway, it's basically the concept of the government coming along and buying out a bunch of farmland and then just kind of controlling it. It basically leads to socialism and communism. Well, actually not socialism so much as actual communism and state control of farming land. Not necessarily of the farmers themselves. It's not quite the same thing, I guess. But they are controlling a lot of the land so you can't farm it and use it for water. Alternatively, yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, it changes a lot of different things is what it comes down to. It changes a lot of different things. God, how are we gonna deal with this damn thing? I hate the water shortage. I hate it. Okay, there are certain policies introduced in Clones and Drones specifically to combat things like this. There's one. The Climate Change Adaptation Fund. Global warming has led to increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters, such as the water drought. The Climate Change Adaptation Fund finances large-scale projects from dams to weather satellites, from reforesting to water reservoirs. It might be expensive, but environmentalists and farmers call for this policy. Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, good freaking grief, it's expensive. 47 billion euros. Oh, it's not right. It's just not right. We're going to do it anyway, though. Because guess what? I've got a ton of money. This is one of the reasons I raised taxes as much as I did. I figured this could happen. It easily could. How much do we want to do, though? An alert system has some benefits. It's very expensive. And frankly, yeah. I mean, if you're thinking, hey, I'll pick this up specifically so I can get all these perks and no downsides, yeah, that's a terrible way to spend your money. You want to do at least... probably a least prediction system if I think about it. I don't know if I want to go as far as long-term predictions. That's a lot. That's too much. Prediction system is going to cost me about 36 billion euros. The water shortage is reduced, so this in combination with improving the environment will do a lot for getting rid of the event. Unemployment goes down. That's pretty good. The rest of this I don't care too much about. We're going to have to do it. I don't like it, but I think it is a better alternative to doing the farmland acquisition program, which does have some negative effects. In fact, let me look that up real quick, because I took some notes as far as what all these things do. Okay, the Farmland Acquisition Act makes liberals and environmentalists unhappy, it makes farmers very unhappy, it makes patriots happy, and it does reduce food price. That's really all it's good for, is reducing food price. I thought that it also changed farmer membership. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Farmland Acquisition Program does not actually improve the water shortage at all. I thought it would reduce farmer membership. It appears I'm remembering incorrectly, or I didn't take a note of it because I didn't think it would be too important. So you know what? I could be wrong. Don't take me too seriously. Let's instead pass, I don't know, car emission limits. This is pretty good. This directly impacts the environment a lot. Motorists will be unhappy by this, because guess what? They're going to have to go and get their car checked up and make sure that it's passing emission tests all the time. Which I have to do, and it's very annoying. Environmentalists will be happy. The environment improves by almost 20%, which is so good! It also reduces CO2 emissions quite a bit, and reduces car usage, which again reduces CO2 emissions. So across the board, this is one of the best policies you can take in order to improve the environment. And now it's done. I think, however, that's all we have time for and all that we have the political capital for. So okay, we're going to see a big chunk of our surplus go away, but I'm hoping that as things like the rural development grants and so on really start to take root, the GDP will go up, my tax income will go up, and if I need to, I can always increase the petrol tax to 42. Yes, I know, the meaning of life and the universe and everything thanks to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, blah, 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 I get it. That's not actually why I did it, it just sort of happened to be like, you know, the perfect sweet spot before the GDP takes a hit, but either way, just thought I'd address that, because that was actually very funny, I laughed. Anyway, yeah, I think that's good enough for this video, so thank you all for watching, I do hope you enjoyed. Don't crucify me too much in the comment section, I have an opinion and I'm entitled to it, and if you don't like it, you are allowed to respectfully disagree. But only respectfully, please. Subscribe if you want to see my future content, and I will see you guys next time.